is what's called an ugly drum smoker. And this is basically taking, in my case, a 55-gallon drum and turning it into a tool we can use to smoke and barbecue meats. Now, there are two goals here. The first is to save a little bit of money over buying a commercial product. The way I've got the costs figured right now, and it might fluctuate a little bit, I can basically do this for about half the cost of a commercial smoker. The other reason is that I can build something that I want. I can use better quality materials, heavier gauges of steel, etc. And not only just from a component standpoint, but also from an engineering standpoint. I can build it the way I want to build it, the way I want it to work, in a way that works for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the process. You're going to come along with me on the build. This is certainly going to be a multi-part video. Probably the way I'm figuring now, probably three segments, three sections to build the actual smoker, and then one to show you how it works. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to start working on today is the base, the caster base for the big ugly drum smoker. I'm going to be making this out of square steel tube. You'll see how it's all going to go together later, but for now let's just talk about what we're going to be doing today. I got this tube at one of the big box stores. I've got a steel supplier that I buy steel from time to time, but this time of year it's going to be really hard for me to get down there, so I'm just going to go with this. The only problem is I'm fine with the outside dimension of this tube. The only problem is it's a bit more thin-walled than I would like, considerably more thin-walled. What do we have here? About 71 thousandths. So it's just slightly larger than a 16th. Now that's not a problem from a structural perspective. It's still going to be plenty sturdy the way it's going to go together to hold up the weight of the ugly drum smoker. The problem is welding. Using the normal 1/8 inch welding rods that I usually use at the amperage that I usually weld at would burn right through this. So I'm going to try to step that back. I'm going to use a 16th inch rod. I'm going to step the amperage back to match the thickness of my steel and the size of my rod. And we're going to try to weld this. It still may be too much. We may burn through. If that's the case, unfortunately, all we'll really have done is wasted a little bit of this steel. We can still throw it in the materials pile and use it. But at that point, I'll just have to find a way to get down there to my steel supplier and get something with an 1/8 inch wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark this out. I'm going to cut it. I don't have a cut-off saw, a chop saw at this point. It's one of the things I'm keeping an eye out for at auctions and yard sales and Craigslist and that sort of thing, but I don't have one right now. So I'm going to be cutting it off with a hacksaw. I'm going to be welding it together, and I'll show you some of that so you can see how it's all going to go together. And then we'll drill it for the casters, which I still have to get, and put the casters on, put it on the barrel, and you'll be able to see how it all goes together. Now one note, I'm sure you're seeing my shop behind me. It just occurred to me, I can see it in the camera as well. My shop looks probably pretty, well, fairly well organized, but pretty dirty. I don't really have a problem with that. I see all of these pristine shops on a lot of these videos, and you know, let's be honest, I'm a little envious of them. But if you're working in a pristine shop, it kind of tells me you're not working in that shop very much. You're not getting much accomplished, because either you keep it pristine by not doing any work, or you're constantly cleaning it. Now I clean my shop. I keep it tidy. I keep it clean enough to work in. But if you're spending all your time cleaning up your shop, I would suggest that maybe you need to be getting more work done. So in any case, let's get on with this. I'm going to go ahead and mark this out, cut it. We'll come back to show you how it all goes together. Okay, so the base I'm building is going to basically be a Y with equally spaced legs. It's going to lay under the ugly drum smoker and have casters on the end of those legs. You'll see what I mean as I go through. But the first thing I need to do is cut this this steel at a 120 degree angle. Why 120 degrees? Because I need 360 degrees divided by a third. That gives me a 120 degree angle. Now marking this steel, because I've got rounded edges on this steel, and marking it exactly would be tough. So what I've done is taken just a piece of scrap lumber here. I've cut it so that the width of it matches the width of the steel, which by the way is 1.259 inches. It would have been nice if it would have been 1.250, but it wasn't. And I've used my table saw to cut this at a 120-degree angle, so that the apex is right in the middle of this piece. So what I can do now is I can take and put this on the steel at the length I need it to. This is just for demonstration purposes. Make sure it's aligned, clamp it down, and then use this as a guide for my hacksaw. As I mentioned, I don't have a chop saw, so use this as a guide for my hacksaw to make these cuts. And I'm going to go ahead and do that, and you'll see how it comes out. Sorry about the heater noise in the background. That came out pretty well. I can already tell that on my first cut I drifted a little bit as I got to the bottom. I can get out the grinder and clean that up, but I think it's close enough I can finish it up with the mill file. So that's what I'm going to do next. But it came out really good. It's going to work just fine. Here I've got the base welded up. You can see now more like how it's going to work. It's basically 3 legs welded together here in the center. If you picture this as the bottom of the drum, this will go something like this. We'll weld it here on the edges, and then there will be casters on the bottom, 2 locking casters and 1 swivel caster, so that you can move it around or lock it in place. I didn't show you the welding for 2 reasons. First of all, because I don't have a way to filter for the lens for the brightness of the welding. Second of all, you don't need to see my bubblegum welding. You'll notice I've ground it down here. Welding is not my strong suit. I can get it strong enough that it'll hold, but it's not pretty. So on to the next part. Okay, so back out here today, we're working on the ugly drum heater. If you haven't noticed, or if you haven't figured out by now, this is not a project that I'm doing in a couple days. It's a project I'm spacing out over weeks. So I'm almost ready to burn out the barrel. But before I do that, I want to drill the holes for my air intakes and for my thermometer and a few other things, and we'll get to that. But the first thing I want to do is show you what my air intakes are going to look like. I had originally intended to do 1 large. Okay, so here you're seeing the more or less finished base unit of the ugly drum smoker. Still needs to be ground down a little bit and sandblasted. But what I've done is basically made a 3-legged stand for the smoker to sit on, welded together out of 1-inch square tubing. Mounted these stem casters on here. Got them off Walmart. Search for them, you can find them. Right now they're through drilled holes in the legs. Right now they're just on here with regular nuts. That's just temporary. I've actually got acorn nuts to put on top of them just to clean up the appearance a little bit. And I've actually welded ends on it to keep moisture out. I was planning on trying to figure out how to make a nylon or a plastic plug for this. I thought, why not just weld a piece of metal on the end? Much simpler, much cleaner, and it'll look nicer, it'll hold up longer. So that's the base unit. I'm going to sit the barrel in here so we can mark it out for drilling. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is drill the holes for the air intakes. Now, I could go around and measure, I've got 3 of them, I want them evenly spaced. I could go around and measure and make them equidistant from one another. But because I've got 3 legs here, and that's going to kind of be a reference point visually, what I really want to do is center them on these legs. So we've got 3 legs, and geometry says that if we have the same distance from the outside of the leg to the barrel on all 3 of these, then the barrel is going to be centered on the base. Okay, so that's what I've done. I've gone around, I've taken the casters off, I've measured this, I've made them equal. It's a little hard to see probably, but the seam of the barrel runs right down through here. So I want that offset a little bit. I don't want to drill that hole right in that seam. So I've offset that a little bit. I'm going to mark this leg and this point right here. So for this project we needed a step drill. We have to, in order to drill the air vents to the proper diameter, we need to go above 1/2 inch, and 1/2 inch is the largest drill bit, twist drill bit I've got for the size drills I've got. So I bought this. If you go to the big box stores, you'll find that the cheapest step drills you can find are about $40–45. So I went on to Amazon, and you know how I love Amazon, and I found this, a Neiko. Maybe I'm pronouncing that right, maybe I'm not, but you can find it based on the spelling. A Neiko step drill bit. This drill bit goes from 1/4 inch to 1 3/8 in 1/8 increments. It looks good. It feels solid. It's a titanium bit. So this is what we're going to be using for this video, and at the end of the drilling process I'll share my thoughts with you. So on this step drill bit, the tip here, the tapered part of the tip tapers out to 1/4 inch. Actually, that looks like less than it's supposed to taper out to 1/4 inch. That looks smaller to me, but it's certainly smaller. I'm going to take a drill bit that is smaller than that tip, as you can see, to start my hole. That way, once I get that through hole, it'll give me a good reference point for the tip of this, and the tip won't wander all over the place. I'm going to try to do this with my cordless drill. If not, I'll step up. I'm not sure it's going to have the power to drive this big of a bit through steel. So if it doesn't work out, I'll go to the corded drill and we'll go from there. Well, all in all, I'd say the bit functioned pretty well so far. I mean, we've drilled a total of 1 hole with it so far, so not exactly a great test. You know, it took a while, but that's to be expected. I'm using a cordless drill, which has limited power, and you know, you can see we're removing a decent amount of steel here. So I'll give it a good score so far, but you know, time will tell. Let's drill the rest of them and see how well that works out. Okay, we're pretty early in the build process, and I've already found my first design change. When I drilled the, let me show you. When I drilled the hole for the back vent and put a nipple through the back, what I discovered is that on the outside this is the perfect height. On the inside, the bottom isn't actually the bottom of the barrel. You're going to have a problem seeing this probably. So the bottom of the barrel is actually not here, not here, but about here. What, 1/4 of an inch, 5/16 of an inch up from the bottom of the rim. Now that's going to work out okay for this back vent. I'll talk about the other design change here in a moment, but it's not going to work well for the uprights. So I'm okay, but I do have to make a change. The second design, the design challenge or design change I found is that I was planning on putting something inside of the barrel to attach to this nipple to secure it. As it turns out, I don't have to do that. Based on the size of the step drill, for the minimum diameter that I need to get a nipple through there, the threaded part of the nipple will come through the hole, the unthreaded part will not. So all I really need to do is take a nipple, put it through here until it butts up against that unthreaded part, and then put my threaded piece, whether it's this coupling for the back vent or the 90s for the upright vents. That's all I really need. So on the other ones, the upright air intake holes, all I really need to do is raise my raise my center point up about 1/16 of an inch, just to give me a little bit of extra confidence that I can squeeze that nipple in there, get it to come out the outside, and attach everything right. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to drill the other 2 holes for the upright vents, upright air intakes. I'm going to move them up about 1/16 of an inch, and I think we should be good to go. Okay, so with the exception of the grate brackets, which I'll go ahead and put in later, I've pretty much got everything drilled out. I'm ready for the burnout. I've put everything together, just tacked it together so I can show you what it's all going to look like. We've got the holes for the air inlets, the 90s, drilled out. I've still got to grind off some of the cut and grind off some of the threads to make the 90s and the pipes fit together the way I want. But we've got most of it done. We've got the, I've got to get some short 3/8 inch stainless steel bolts so that I can suck these brackets in. But we're close. I believe we're ready for the burnout. I've got the everything drilled for the air inlets, also for the thermometer, which I'll go into a little bit later. But we're close. Next steps are to take the barrel out, do the burnout. I'll show you what that looks like. Then take a cup brush, a wire cup brush with a 4-inch grinder, and grind everything down on both the inside and the outside to get everything out of it. Do the high temperature paint. Then once I pick up some more components, we should be ready for, wow, really? For assembly. Yeah, pretty close. So stay tuned. So that's part 1. We've got the smoker just about ready to do the burnout. In the next segment, you'll see me do that. We'll install the grates. We'll get everything ready for the burnout. We'll do the burnout. We'll paint. Well, first we'll grind everything out, wire brush everything out, and we'll paint. And in the final segment, we'll probably build the charcoal basket. So check back next time, and we'll take it to the next step.